really getting burnt out from the stresses of running a practice. And that stress, I think, was getting to us. At the age of 41, we decided to say, you know what, we're going to do something different.
Hey, welcome. I'm your host, Chaden Young, and we have a special guest today, Dr. Aman Bhullar. Hey, Dr. Bhullar, it's great to have you on.
Hi, Chaden. Great to be with you today. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we've obviously been working together for a long time, dental implant machine in your practice, and you're doing some amazing things on the training side. And I just thought it would be awesome to get together and just share your story, some of your background, and then how you got into implants and then kind of moved and started. You're teaching a ton of people, and you were talking to me just real quick about all the stuff that you guys do. I'd love to dive into that. So I'll turn it over to you. Tell me a little bit about your background. Tell me how you got into dentistry and then into implants.
Great. Well, thank you. Mine's sort of an unconventional journey. I grew up in Vancouver. I'm Canadian. Grew up in Canada, did my undergraduate education at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Went to high school there. Beautiful place in the country, of the world, really. That's where. And then I worked for about 5 years outside of dentistry as well. I actually worked in law enforcement. So
Oh, wow.
So I used to work actually as a border inspector or with Canada Customs. So
Oh, interesting.
it was a neat journey. I got involved when I was in university,
Yeah.
and then a couple of years after, I spent some full time as my career focused on that and had training and was doing all that kind of stuff. And I still knew that wasn't going to be the end for me. At the same time, I was applying to dental school and opportunities and did some research. And then it wasn't an easy road to get into dental school. It was I'd applied the third time I got in. I had to open up bigger borders, not to stay within British Columbia or Canada, or I had to look at the U.S. as opportunities as well. So very thankful. And I went to dental school at Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and great city. I really enjoyed my time there. It was a lot for a kid from Vancouver to go across the continent to North Broad Street in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
and great sports town. Food is great. Got to meet my wife there. My wife is also a dentist.
Oh, congrats.
She grew up in Michigan, so it worked out well. I got to do a lot of fun things in dental school. It was probably the highlight of that influential time in your life. So made great friends that we're still connected with. We just celebrated our 20-year reunion last year for our class, and went back to Philadelphia. Had a great time, and after dental school, moved back to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Back up to Canada.
yeah, back up to Canada.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you went back. Okay.
2004, we went back to Canada. We got married in 2005, and then we started having a family, and we sort of bumped around like crummy associateships. Really, nothing really that was working out. Nothing really stable long term. But it just the journey that a new dental graduate faces, the lack of
Mm-hmm.
confidence, the not doubting yourself, not sure if it's the right career for you. You're really trying to figure that out. Really trying to understand the business aspects, and also they're mastering clinical skills, thinking
Yeah.
every problem that patient has is because I did something wrong, not doing hygiene as a dentist, and trying to build a practice, working group practices where you're working the evenings, working in a retail center in a mall, on Friday nights till
Yeah.
8 or 9 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock, on Thursday nights.
It's a grind.
Yeah. Saturdays, Sundays, you name it, we did it, and we tried to buy a practice, looked at multiple opportunities, and just nothing really was fit what we were looking for. We were in a growing subdivision or suburb of Vancouver, which is having rapid growth. And then we just decided, you know what, we're going to sign a lease and start from scratch. And so in 2006, we did that. 2007, we opened up, and my wife maintained her associateship and I maintained mine. By this time, we had one daughter already in 2006, and we started building practice from scratch, built 3 ops, overspent like every new doctor that wants to have the nicest office, and the reps,
Of course.
encourage you to go to ADEC. And we went to ADEC factory in Oregon, and saw all their nice
Yeah.
stuff, and got, and it just a loan, right? Just added more to the loan. And,
Yeah.
first year's interest only, right? There's no going to be no principal you're going to be paying on this thing. So you get suckered
Mm-hmm.
into that. We had a lease for about 1,500 square feet, put 3 ops in. We kept room for 2 more to build into. So it was a 5 op space. And, we're very thankful of opportunities that came within 3 months. We both had to quit our other positions and because the practice was growing at such a rapid pace.
That's great.
And we got really lucky, and we would rotate. She would do hygiene 1 hour, and I would do treatment with one of the assistants, and then we would rotate. I would do hygiene, and she would work with the other assistant, and so we rotated. My parents would watch our kids on the Saturday. We would just do what we needed to do to grind, and we had one receptionist and two employees that were so loyal when we first started, and just built up slowly, and then, yeah, a couple of years later, we added the other 2 chairs, and then we expanded from 5, we expanded to 8, and we started another practice we were starting in the area, and by this time, we had 4 kids under the age of 6. It was just crazy. So we had 4 daughters, and oldest one was 6, and then 4, and then 2, and a newborn. It was a busy time for us when we look back at it now.
That's a
And
lot.
oh yeah, it was chaos, man. It was chaos. I couldn't believe those. And we were trying to grow our business too, right? At the same time as being parents and involved, and the multiple practice that we're going into, starting at least in a third location in the suburbs of Vancouver. And then we were I think I was getting burnt out, like, really getting burnt out from the stresses of running a practice, being a clinician, father of 4, pressures of just local families in the area and patient base that really knew you from childhood all the way up, that had high different expectations on how they're going to pay, how they're going to compensate you. They know somebody that, and it was just this game that was
Yeah.
challenging to sort of manage sometimes. But we were growing well. We were practicing for 100 new patients a month, just cranking and just adding associates. We have 4 or 5 associates. We had an army of staff. We were open 6 days a week,
Uh-huh.
and starting at 7, going to 5 or 6 most nights. Some days we were 7 to 7, and Saturdays we were open. And so it was all just sort of built organically. And I would think they were just starting we were having some challenges on the HR side and just keeping it growing, and that stress, I think, was getting to us, and we just had a moment that, like, "Okay, do we want our life to continue to go like this?" Or we had always dreamed of getting out of the rain, and out of
Yeah.
Vancouver in the Northwest, and I was part of a couple groups that really opened up eyes and leadership and growth opportunities. The American Academy of Clear Aligners, I was a part of as a board member on that group, and we got to meet a real great collection of professionals across North America that way. And then we started looking at, okay, like, how do we want our life to go? The path of least resistance was to stay there and just keep doing what we are doing, or
Yeah.
do we take on a new challenge? And within a week, we sold we were talked about it for a while. Obviously, it was a big decision, and we built our dream house on 2.5 acres. It was awesome, custom home
Oh,
in
wow.
the country. We loved it, and but we made the decision. You know what? We're going to do something different, and so we decided to sell our practices. We listed them and didn't work with any broker. We worked with one colleague we knew that was trying to grow this type of way. Talked to him on a Thursday. I think it was a Friday morning or Thursday evening. He said, "Give me till Sunday evening." And he called me Sunday at noon. He said, "Okay, let's do it." And so our life was about to change. And this was probably May of 2017. So after being up there for 13 years and building these brands and building our name and our practice and building our professional relationships, at the age of 41, we decided to say, you know what, we're going to do something different. And
Uh-huh.
we sold our practices in 30 days. We got out. We were moving to California,
Okay.
and a lot of people are moving out of California at the time, or people are telling us, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we moved into California. We moved into San Jose,
Okay.
a very competitive, expensive area of the country, the most expensive real estate in the country. So people were thinking we were crazy, and I told them, "Hey, I'm coming from Vancouver. I know about expensive real estate." So it wasn't that big of a change, but it was a tougher road than I anticipated. Actually, in 2017, we had 4 kids.
Was she still working with you?
Yeah,
Or she
yeah. She worked with me. She was, bless her soul. She would take like a couple months off between babies and then get right back to work.
Wow. They're amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I'm so thankful for her and allowing me to develop and everything that I've been able to, because of her support. If I didn't have her support, some of these things that I've been doing were definitely not possible. So yeah, but she was an American citizen. I was a Canadian. She had got her Canadian residency and her citizenship, and we were filing taxes to Uncle Sam every year, even while we're living in Canada. Those are the rules for IRS.
Oh, wow.
So they
The
were
worst.
like, okay, so if we're
Yeah.
gonna keep this thing going with their US citizenship, well, we had talked about either retiring down here when we got older, obviously, and our kids were all grown up, or do
Hmm.
now and be bold and not have any regrets at 60 or 70. Like I could have, should have, would have. Maybe if I'd done this,
Yeah.
maybe this would worked out. I didn't want to live like that. And so we did it. So we said, all right, well, if it doesn't work, we can come back. We'll figure it out. I mean, we had restrictive agreements in the
Yeah.
area. The doctor was really nervous who bought us initially, like, are you sure? You're 41. Like you built this thing and it's rocking and rolling
Yeah.
and it's churning up bucks and you're ready to walk away and you built these from scratch and this is where you're from. Believe me, but there was a bit of, a bit of concern on his part that this isn't really normal, right? I buy
Yeah.
old retiring doctors' practices, not guys that are doing well right now. And I said, no, we're going to do it. We're really going to do this. And so he did, and we did. And 30 days later, we bought a house down here. We couldn't get a mortgage because we had no income in the US. And that was another story.
Yeah.
And then we did it. We moved down here with 4 kids. Oldest was 11, 9, 7, and 5. Our oldest started kindergarten here. We met a great group of friends,
Okay.
started really get involved in the community. The professional side really suffered for a while, for about 18 months, 16, 17 months. We couldn't really find anything we liked.
Hmm.
We bought our house first and maybe we'd get opportunities, but they were further away and the traffic, the commute in the Bay Area, it was
Yeah.
was was challenging. And it was like, well, we don't really have a lot of family support here. We got to be close to where we live. So it really limited our opportunities. Like, maybe we should have done it a bit differently, but so is it. We wanted to have a stable base for our kids and a home that we enjoy.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And then, yeah, my wife bought a practice. I was working. Chris had practices 7 to 7, Sundays, free cleanings. I was doing all that stuff as an associate, right? Back into the grind again from
And the
13
grind
years
again.
ago. Yeah. Right. And it was like, oh my gosh. Right. And then, yeah, my wife bought a practice in 2018 and that was smaller. So she was just smaller and she could be close to home because it's close to home. Whereas
Hmm.
I was like, you know what? I'll figure something out. I'll keep associating, traveling because I didn't want her to be away from the 4 daughters and the kids. So while we were getting used to a new school, a new city. So we bummed around for that. And then finally something came up. I bought something in October and good established practices. Both were established practices. So very different than our practices in Vancouver, which were startups from scratch. So we had a lot of young families, people like us with young kids moving into the
Yeah.
area in a growing suburb. So it was very different dynamic. And I learned a lot of ortho. I'd done fixed brackets. I was doing headgear. I was doing brackets and braces and all that kind of stuff in Vancouver because that was our clientele.
Yeah.
So adjusted my skill set towards servicing the patients that were in the practice, right? And then when we moved to San Jose, it was very different. We were in this old established part of San Jose that had been here a long time. Good practices that were built on good skills and good skill sets. Doctors had been in the same practice since the 70s. So both doctors were established themselves in the 70s when San Jose was like a orchard, and a farming
Hmm.
and a fruit community. So
Yeah.
and then obviously the tech boom and everything in Silicon Valley was created after that. But they had established these practices during those times. So, but there was a lot of failing dentistry, a lot of dentistry that needed to be redone, a lot of post and cores and crowns and
Hmm.
root canals that were failing, bridges that were failing. Just things break down, over
Yeah.
time.
Of
Patients
course.
sometimes don't think of that, but they have to understand that dentistry has a life and service. And a lot of the services they were having were coming to an end. We looked at the reports. We analyzed both reports of practices, and we saw there was a large number of implants that were or large treatments of like implants that were being referred out to other people in the area. And
Okay.
just like we adapted our practices in Vancouver to cater to the community, it was like, you know what, we got to really get this down. And my good friend that was a board member with the American County of Clear Landers, I went to him for advice, Dr. Hardik Patel in New Jersey, and he goes, "You really should
Hmm.
maybe focus on implant training." And I've been placing implants since 2005 in Vancouver, but it wasn't a
Yeah.
big staple part of my practice. So it was now we do more implants in a week than we did a year there now. So it was sort of just dabbling in it. Wasn't a lot of demand. Patients were electing to go the 3-unit bridge instead because the insurance covered it. That
Yeah.
mindset was very prevalent in that community, especially in Canada, because of a lot of patients have a mindset, hey, if my insurance covers it, I'll do it. And more so in Canada than in the US. I see it's two big differences. So
Hmm.
I've had the opportunity to practice there and in the US. And there is a difference. There is a difference in of how you approach your practice, how patients approach their care. So it's an eye opening, really. So yeah, and then so he told me, you know what, get on, think about this, and I was like, man, I really invested heavy in time, effort, and money implant training. And so 2018, 2019 was just dedicated to like just getting everything buttoned up. And oh man, I must have done like, ooh, I would say 3,000 hours of CE in probably 24 months.
Okay.
Like it really was every weekend I was away, at least, and even weeks. So I was like, some weeks I was doing 80 hours, like 2 weeks, like we were doing 12-hour days in some of these programs, and just getting this established, like really, really establishing that foundation. And like, for me, immersive learning and intense learning has been
Yeah.
really way that has helped me grow in other aspects too. So that was key. From there, things just started taking off, and 2019 was getting established in the practice. We decided to go out of network with Delta in 2019. I was like, okay, this implant stuff is taking up more of my time. I couldn't
Hmm.
keep my premier provider reimbursements that the previous doctor had for all these years. In San Jose, our cost of business and cost of practice is very high.
Yeah.
Our economic scales and our pay scales are so high here, and the reimbursements from some of these insurances are so challenging. So
Yeah.
we ended up making a decision early in 2019 that we were, we're going to phase out of Delta by the end of the year, and this is how we're going to get it. We created a plan. It wasn't done on
Yeah.
a switch. It wasn't done overnight. We created a plan, and we really followed through with the plan. I see a lot of doctors that are going through this now, and we try to encourage them. Hey, you know what? Don't just do this overnight. You can't switch a plug. You can't just turn it off. You need to have a plan of how you're going to handle these patients. And it was a real challenge for
Yeah.
me because I only bought the practice in 2018, October of 2018.
Yeah.
So I didn't have like a long runway. I see a lot of doctors like they're really concerned. They've been with the patient practice. They've serviced these patients for 5, 10 years, and now they want to change their quality of life and balance. And they feel like they need to get out of network with some of these poor reimbursement companies. And I tell them, I support you. You should do this. You can do this. Like, please understand you can. Just make sure you've got some advanced skills that you've invested in. So you're just
Hmm.
not simple drill and fill or crown and bridge type of practice. Make sure you've got something that can really drive that loss of chair space with some high ticketed or high demand procedure that patients will want, whatever you like to do. I advise patients our doctors all the time, but also have a plan. Like, don't do this overnight. You gotta never set a letter. You know, Doctors are like, oh, I'm going to send a letter to let people know that I'm not going to be in network with Delta or this provider. Like, that's a kiss of death. Like, don't ever do that. So there's strategies you can do, strategies you can set yourself up for success, so that there's going to be a hit, but you
Yeah.
want to minimize that hit and keep rolling and keep moving forward, and realize now that you're time in the chair is going to be more valuable. You're going to be replacing these patients with higher revenue procedures, and you're going to enjoy your life. You're going to have maybe a smaller team, but you're going to have a more efficient team. You're going to have a more profitable business if you do it the right way. So I think that's really key for doctors that are stuck. I mean, some of these, it's incredible. I don't know how younger practices doctors are surviving with this type of environment and still having a life and not seeing, 30, 40, 50 patients a day, and
Yeah.
providing quality care and not being burnt out from the challenges of our profession.
Yeah. So you decided, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to go out of network. And then I think that's around the same time that we got hooked up with dental implant machine and yourself, 2019, 2020,
I think so, on that time, yeah.
and started working together. Since then, since like the beginning until maybe take me and take the audience to, okay, you started doing implants more consistently,
Yeah.
and then to where now you're training people. Let's go to that. Let's go
Yeah,
to
sure.
the that point.
Sure. Yeah. So then we did this in 2019. We planned this in January 1st, 2020. We were going to get out of network with Delta. That was the plan.
Hmm.
There's like, okay, sent the letter October, November, we're going to get out. This is, and the other ones we were mostly out of network with. There was only a couple other PPOs that we were in network with. And then Delta's a big one, it's 50, 60, 70% of practices are Delta in a lot of bigger cities. So, and January 1st, we were going to get out. And then we all know what happened in 2020, right? January 1st,
Yeah.
we get out. Right?
Especially California, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was shut down for a long time. Right. So January 1st, this happens. We're going to get out. We make the plan. We counsel our patients through it. At that same time, because I'd done this intense training and education, and I started doing my cases that were coming up, I had planned to take my American Board of Oral Implantology diplomate examination in May of 2020. There's a big
Okay.
exam. You have to be involved in implant dentistry for 7 years. You have to have a certain number of hours. It's like over 650 hours. You have a certain number of
Hmm.
cases you have to present. You have to do an oral exam, a written exam. You have to present cases. You have to look at other cases and critique them and see where the deficiencies are. So it was a very comprehensive exam to be board certified in implants. 23 states are recognizing this as a board specialty if you have the American Board of Implantology designation. So that was my goal is, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm in a real weird building. I can show you around a little bit, but I've got a periodontist, I've got an oral surgeon, I've got a periodontist and a GP in my building. We share the same waiting room, same bathrooms. We share the building, like not even like separate doors and suites. Okay. It's like we have our own clinical areas, but a lot of the central parts of the office are together. So it was really
Okay.
unique and it's all interior like that. So it's not like you can walk in. So everyone sits in the same waiting room. So I knew
Yeah.
that if I was going to play at that level with with a really good periodontist and a very good oral surgeon in my building, you know, I was going to have to elevate my game. I was going to have to be and have some type of credentialing behind my name. That was a driving
Yeah.
factor. And then how we got into teaching. Okay, so during COVID, when COVID happens in, March 13th, February, the Friday the 13th, March 13th is when the world stops, right? And so we're like, we're supposed to have this exam in May, and it's like me and
Yeah.
Hardeeks across the country, New Jersey. I'm in California, and we're studying, and we've done studying together, remote. We've gone in person, we've gotten together. We've hired some top end doctors to help us get master or be prepared for this exam. I'm like, okay, cool. The exam's still in May. This thing will blow over. It'll be okay. And then as we got closer and closer, and the dates started getting pushed back, and we had all this knowledge, and we had this audience that we were in this American Academy of Clear Aligners. I mentioned we were both board members in this group that was based on Invisalign principles. We had an audience, and it was like, you
Hmm.
know what? Why don't we start helping others, and why don't we just and we were selfish because we were like, hey, we can get better at this if we teach others and it gives a chance to review anyways. And then we can make slides and we can create like these webinars. And this was before the
Yeah.
webinar craze went crazy, right? Before everyone went crazy
Uh-huh.
overloaded with webinars. So we did this really early, like in probably in March still, before everyone by June, May, this thing had blown over and no one cared. Everyone was just like, whatever. So we started
Yeah.
it then and we would get huge audiences. We'd get like 400 people on a Zoom call and we had to up our free Zoom profiles so we could get bigger and bigger
Yeah.
audiences in the room because we didn't know what we were doing, where this was going to lead to. And so we did like an 8
Uh-huh.
series of education. It was really engaging. People were really interested in it. And every week we just come up with a new topic, like, okay, what should we talk about next week? And then we're like, okay. And then
Yeah.
Nobel Biocare, we had some connections there. And they were like, you know what, this is really good content. We'll give everyone CE. And everyone was interested in getting free CE early on in COVID because, hey, what are they doing at home, right? There's only so many things they could do.
Yeah.
And they were learning. It was good content. And for us, we were studying for our examination process anyway. So it sort of allowed us to, if you teach someone, you get better at what you're doing as well. So that was sort of our mentality. And then then we were sort of done. Like we're like, okay, there's 8 things we covered. There's not really that much we can do. And then people were hungry for like, okay, we want to do a hands-on program. Like, what can we do with hands-on? And we were involved
Yeah.
in a clinic, and they were like, okay. And so we brought the doctors down, and then that sort of just catapulted. And people like saying, okay, we want to do more. We see what you guys are doing. We see you're doing this digital workflow. We see that you're using technology and leveraging it and providing more ideal outcomes for patients and that's leading to less time for patients in the chair. It's more efficient, it's more profitable. How can I learn more? And so this sort
Yeah.
of catapulted into like, okay, let's do it. Let's do a seminar here. Let's do a seminar here. Let's do a meeting here. Let's do this 2-day session here. Let's do a nuts and bolts in at the Sorona facility in North Carolina. We did one in San
Yeah.
Francisco here. We did stuff in Chicago. We were like, okay, we're gonna be in New York. Okay, we did something in Dallas. So all these places were starting to come up and more, we were getting more and more of an audience. And it was like, okay. And it was really sort of resonating. We have support groups and WhatsApp chats to help doctors with these challenges in
Hmm.
their practices. And it was really sort of resonating with them. And that's where it sort of got established. And it was like, okay, we're going to create this institute. And then we had a hands-on facility where we could bring patient doctors to, and they could get education and they could get guidance. And the key thing for us was we want to make sure we followed back up with them. Like it wasn't just a one and done. It was like, okay, you know what? Let's go over the next 10 cases. Let's go over the next 5 cases. Share stuff with me so I can help you make sure that you're on the right path, that you're doing this how we
Yeah.
for you to be successful. And we got great reviews and it grew and the audience grew and it led into we had a continuum with the University of Buffalo. They were involved in our
Okay.
first year. We did a continuum of education of over 300 hours. And that led into creating our own Maxi course. So we are, I'm a director of the AID Maxi course along with Dr. Patel, Hardeep Patel in New Jersey. So in Dallas, we've got a
Hmm.
state of the art facility. We're in our second intake. We've had one full group that's graduated. We had great success on their exams for credentialing for the associate fellow of the American Academy of Implant Dentistry. So we've got our second group that we're about halfway through the program now. They're going to be there this week, and they're going to talk about full arch digital workflows. But we cover everything
Yeah.
from like pharmacology, patient care management, diagnosis, treatment planning, periodontal care, periodontal soft grafting, soft tissue grafting, prosthetic principles. They have a cadaver module where they get to now practice these procedures on human specimens. We have other hands-on
Okay.
procedures and models. And then they also get an opportunity to join us at our training center for doing live surgery, which is really key. So we love doctors when they go through this continuum and then jump into the live module because then they've got the principles solidified, just not the didactic, but now they're getting a chance to apply these in live patient care. And I think that's
Actual
really,
hands-on.
yeah, and live
Yeah.
care. And then it's worked out really well. We're just in Baja California, like 20 minutes south of San Diego. We fly into San Diego. We stay as a group. We just finished a session about 2 weeks ago. Doctors loved it. We had doctors travel all the way from Canada, Alberta, British Columbia, to Ontario, across the US, and we brought assistants too. So the assistants really are important for us in these programs because now the doctor has a partner when they go back. Dentists are notorious for going on a CEE seminar and coming back on Monday, and there's a flavor of the week, right? It's like, okay, we're gonna do
Excited. Yeah.
sleep apnea now. Okay, great, we're gonna do sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Doctor went his course. He's excited. He's jacked. He's ready to go. Sleep apnea is the thing, right? And about 10 days in, when no one else has really jumped on the board and it's really hasn't happened, and you get back into the lull of your practice and the routines, it sort of falls to a side. It just doesn't really move ahead. But now when we're bringing assistants and team members to the program, it's powerful because now the doctors have someone that's trained and knows how to do this and is a partner with them rather than just, okay, doctor's got this flavor of the month right now, and then he's going to
Yeah.
focus on something else next. So whenever we've seen this, it's been just electrifying because doctors start implementing. The goal at CE is to take this, but also start implementing in your practice, make your practice better and thrive. So that's sort of the journey how this education module sort of started for us. Now it takes up a lot of my
Yeah.
time. And we've been able to travel to great places like Brazil. We do some programs down there. We do some of these programs in Mexico. We've been to India on these programs. We've spoken at two major world conferences in India. It's opened up a lot of opportunities. We've been able to help. So we've got like a global network of doctors now. It's a lot of fun. We've got connections in Australia, a great group of doctors there that are working out of Australia that we're
Hmm.
affiliated with. So it's been great meeting so many people and seeing them elevate their practice and their lives and have more freedom and more time available for other things that they want to do. It's been pretty exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the course just sounds amazing. It sounds like, especially bringing the team and getting the team involved, it sounds like it. I mean, I'm a big believer of hands-on training, and you need we'll call it PowerPoint or just desk training, but you really need to get hands-on training, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of the hands-on, I know your practice, I mean, even you're in one of your operatories. Why don't you describe and just kind of give a little bit
Oh,
of a
sure.
tour of what your operatory looks like? Cause I know it's very different than,
Oh, okay.
a standard GP practice.
Yeah, 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 sure. I'd love to. I mean, one of the great things also with the hands-on programs is the patients receive the care for free. So it's a great partnership. These patients are so deserving, and these citizens that normally wouldn't get this care, wouldn't be able to afford this care, and we're able to provide same-day solutions or the next day. So where we are, we're the only program that provides a digital dentistry delivered with the prosthesis, not just the screws in the jaw. Okay. That's cool,
Hmm.
but we need to finish these patients and get them teeth. And so we really pride on making sure these people are restored and not just, practice specimens for us, but they're coming and
Yeah.
getting a service they deserve and their lives are being improved. Yeah, I'd love to show you my practice. This is so we had I actually bought it because we said we bought existing practices. So this was a really old
Yeah.
practice built in the 70s. And then we did a huge renovation just at the beginning of last year. And it really allowed us to really and it's just an excellent place to come to work now. We really look forward to it. And we really created operatories now that are geared towards surgical care that are not the standard, sort of the operatory where we have all restorative services and hygiene services. We still have those too. But we built a
Hmm.
practice within a practice, almost like a surgical practice
Yeah.
within the practice. So, and I
Okay.
think that's really key for doctors because there's this big craze about just building implant centers and full arch centers. And as we know, economies can change and different things can happen in the world. And so
Absolutely.
having a diverse patient base is key. And if you just sort of focus on one, I mean, so, that works too. But having this, I think, has really been our strength because that backbone still provides us a lot of implant treatments to our existing patients too. So yeah, this is sort of our opportunity. I'll sort of show you here. Maybe I can bring my camera up a little bit.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate that.
so we've got a nice we've got a this is called an ASI cable that's made from
Hmm.
a group in Colorado. They're great. ASI Dental. We're really pleased with the quality of this front patient delivery table. It goes up and down if you're a provider that likes to stand up or sit down. It can move to different heights.
Okay.
It really is loud. This is a big opportunity. It's actually a rainy day in California, which is sort of rare, but we'll welcome the rain with all the fires and the drought that we
Yeah,
have. And so
absolutely.
thankfully we're away from the fires, but we can definitely use the rain here today. So yeah, this is an opportunity here, and it's a closed operatory. We've got a door, we've got a window in the door so someone can peek in as we're working, but really gives us a lot of square footage and space to work comfortably here. When we've got our
Yeah.
digital tools, most of our patients we do is take care of ID procedures, so we've got room for our ID medications and procedures. We've got our
Hmm.
digital workflows. We've got a scanner there from Sirona. We've also got another Itero in here, and then we've got a nice surgical chair. It's a Boyd surgical chair. No, sorry, not
Okay.
Royal surgical
Royal.
chair. And we've got a neat overhead light, which has really been helpful for our surgical. The challenge here
Yeah.
has been for us is that we don't have a lot of ceiling clearance. It's only about maybe an 7.5, 8 foot ceiling. So it really was a bit of a
Wow.
challenge, but we've been able to fit the light in here. I just have to be careful not to bang my head in the arm.
Yeah.
And then we've got a screen where we've got a camera built in so we can record stuff for education, for viewing, for getting better also. So making sure I'm keeping up with trying to improve on our skills when we do surgery. We've got our monitoring systems that are built into our chair, and all our motors are built into the
Hmm.
table. So we're not having a lot of extra
Yeah.
clunky stuff. Gives us a lot of space to work and put our surgical instruments. And then around here, we've got a nice big back counter. This is where we're working off of right now. And we've got our
Yeah.
PRF equipment that we use a lot of PRF with Rick Myron's PRF and using growth factors to help with enhance healing. And so we've got a nice workstation, and we didn't create any custom cabinets. It's just sort of from a demo, not from a dental provider. As you learn, sometimes you don't need to have ADEC everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So where other stuff works too. But there's a lot. It's high quality, nice countertops. We've got a Plasma X machine that allows us to remove carbon layers off implants, really to help maintain enhance the sterility and the clean surface on the implants. So, we keep all our surgical records on here on a wall. So when we're taking care of someone, we know what they're coming in with, what medications they're taking, what procedure we're
Hmm.
doing. So sort of like a small operating room kind of a thing, right? To
Yeah.
a certain
Really.
level, not that complicated, but really allows us to work in peace and really look forward to care for our patients. And we created this after we were starting to see that there's a demand, and now patients come in and it's just such a different experience when they go to another provider or they see another office at how this is the kind of setup that we have for them. So with your recommendations, we've also got a really like consult room now that we have.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the consult. I know you're not doing consults in that room,
Yeah.
but yeah, the consult room with the smile reveals and
Yeah.
before and afters. I mean, I love that you again GP practice, but then you've been able to transform it internally. And you said practice within a practice,
Yeah.
which I couldn't agree more. What give the audience just an idea? I mean, on average, how many surgeries are you doing in a year, or maybe even in a month, if you don't mind sharing that?
Yeah.
Just in your practice now, and I'm sure that you're doing other stuff,
Yeah.
so the number maybe may not be as high,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious about
I
that.
mean, I try to work 12 days a month in my practice, 10 to 12 days a month, and that's it. So I try to keep a good balance with it. So I don't, my, for me, it hasn't really been the trying to, I go to a lot of meetings and a lot of doctors are, and they're working super hard and they're doing a great job. And they're proud of their numbers to get how many arches, how many they've done of that and this and this. But we do
Hmm.
probably an average of 10 to 15 a month type of an arch for full arch surgeries. But we do a lot of singles.
Yeah,
We do a wisdom teeth. We do single tooth care with implants. And so it's sort of broad in that regard. It's just not a one full arch center. But yeah, I mean, for me, the balance in regards to the education and the travel and then the practice has been good. And that's what I enjoy. We've looked at other opportunities where we built a huge new center and it was going to cost
Yeah.
this much, and I was going to have this huge, a large service amount that I'd have to keep maintaining this thing going. And it was, and I'm glad I didn't follow that path because it would have made me like sort of a slave to the chair with the requirements to maintain the practice, right? And to maintain the costs that are involved to build something like that, you know?
And I think that's the key is, I mean, you mentioned it. You have a work-life balance. I mean, you're a husband, a father, you have 4 kids.
Yeah.
You also are doing a bunch of stuff, training other doctors,
Yeah.
along with running your own practice. I mean, to be able to balance all that and still maintain that level of production, I mean, that's pretty impressive. It really is. And I think the workflow also is probably a key aspect, has been able to enable you to do that high of a production while still maintaining that work-life balance that you have.
Yeah. I think that's key. I mean, the workflows are key, mastering those workflows using, and it's hard because there's so much technology that's being thrown at us these days, and knowing which works, which doesn't, which is, and dentists are notorious having a drawer or a closet in their office that the stuff that they bought they never used, right? So it's really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And I know I rely on my partners with Dr. Patel and Dr. Mike Tran. Between the three of us, we really can vet stuff that we see and get opinions and really trust each other. But yeah, this is
Mhm.
a good spot to go into. This product isn't really necessary for what we're doing, or this is how we can really enhance this. So our network, our individual networks, we combine them together to really provide, a great sounding board for a lot of doctors, and ability to know that,
Yeah.
hey, you can reach out to any one of us. Most of our hands-on programs were always all three of us there together. Whenever our other commitments don't allow us to be, that part is key. And then training the team is so key. So I've
Yeah.
got some really A-star, A-list team members that have really enjoyed the journey and elevated their level of understanding of these things so that I can delegate more. And that only happens when they become part of something that they feel that they're contributing to something that's really powerful. And some of the smile reveals that we do is just incredible. Like, took care of a patient on
Yeah.
Christmas Eve. I mean, it's like I asked two people on my team, like we were scheduled off, and I was like, you know what, let's just see if we can bang this out for this lady. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Three people volunteered, and it was like, let's go. So it was
Love
incredible. We do a
that.
dual arch on Christmas Eve, and made change this lady's life, and came back to see us in January, and she gave us this great story. Like, and this is an amazing story. She and we recorded it, and she goes, her name is Jessica. She goes, I'd speak to someone. I'm speaking to someone now, and it's like a minute or two in the conversation, and they're like, I've got a friend that looks just like you, and her name is Jessica, and she looks just like you. And they're like, no, that's me. And they're like,
Yeah.
and they can't believe it. I've never heard a story like this. So that was a really neat story. So when you hear stories like that, when you change someone's impact of how they present, she's a young female, so that just fuels the team. And it's just not about the money. It's just not about. I mean, obviously you have to be competitive with your team,
Yeah.
and treat them well and with respect. But man, that gets the team jacked more than anything else, so that they can be a part of something so powerful and make a huge difference in someone's life. And I think that gives us the most reward and makes them, look forward to coming in and helping more people. We're doing a Veterans Day
Yeah.
coming up in another month here, and public health in our local county has reached out, see if we could do
Yeah.
something for the veterans. And we're just, we're doing it on a Saturday, and just going to be a fun day. And I said, hey, you're not going to get paid. And everyone's like, sign me up. I'm coming. And so that's the culture you want to build, and I think that's really key because otherwise you're going to have a lot of turnover. You're just going to be, and you can't implement these things because there's so much time invested in training and education on these complex procedures, and if you've just got a revolving door of team, then it can be really frustrating and challenging.
Yeah.
Try to build a culture of leadership, of growth, abundance mindset, and good things will happen. It's hard, it's not easy, but
Yeah.
but having that type of mindset, I think, really can allow you to grow your practice and your business. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And as a vet, I got back from my deployment last year,
Oh, wow.
middle of the summer, but
Thank you, man. Thank you for your time and your service.
thank you. I mean, seriously, it is a population that does need help, especially those that need what you can provide. Dr. Bowler, it's been awesome talking to you. It's been awesome sharing your experience, your journey. Just real quick before we end this, if someone's looking to advance their skills, whether they're currently placing
Sure.
implants or they're just getting into this,
Yeah.
what's the best way for them to connect with you, find
Yeah.
out more about what you do?
Yeah, I'm on social. I'm on Facebook, Aman Bhullar. I'm not that great on Instagram. I'm trying to get better at that. But I mean,
Yeah.
you can send me a message or an email. I mean, our website is 3dimplantinstitute.com. There's some links on there where you can connect with us. We'd love to be able to
Okay.
help you. We love the beginners. We love the ones that have never placed anything before because we can really set the principles of guidance and help them really have predictable
Yeah.
results. And then we've got lots of doctors that, when they want to up their level, I want to improve this, want to improve his skill set, sinus lift, they want to do full arch, they want to do. Now we're even going to remote anchorage options for patients that are really compromised in the zygomatic
Oh,
and
wow.
pterygoid programs that are hands-on. So yeah, so we have an extensive array of course offerings, and we really in each of the meetings, it's all like as we just said a couple minutes here about the business development and how to do that. I think that's really key because we can have all the skills that we want. Like dentists we can take a lot of CE, but if you don't have the sort of the implementation plan or how this is going to roll out and the vision
Yeah.
that you see for the practice, it can get really confusing because you'll invest in on this and you won't see return and you'll get frustrated, right? I mean, working with you has been excellent with dental implant machine. We've got two of those plaques in the back somewhere in our
Yeah.
consult room with the two column, I call this, and being accountable to their partners. Like, I know as doctors, we can easily blame, that they don't really do a good job in marketing and they don't get this or they don't get that. But if you're not a partner with the process, which sometimes dentists, I've been first to blame on that early in when we were getting this going, was because if you're not engaged, just looking at your results and seeing what you need to do to improve and how you need to improve the patient experience, yeah, your
Hmm.
results are all tied in together, right? You can throw a ton of
Yeah.
money into this advertising stuff and not get good results. Then you have to sort of look at, okay, well, what part of this isn't working, right? Because as we know, every market's getting more and more competitive. So I
Yeah.
think that's key
Absolutely.
is to pick up these tips from these courses. It's not the clinical, which is great. Okay, we need to have that, but patients are often coming to you for everything else that you provide: the care, the convenience,
Absolutely.
the efficiencies, the team. All those things play a big role in patients making a decision to choose you or be very pleased with your service afterwards. So I think those things are key. And each of our programs, we all try to highlight this. We have usually have breakfast together, we have lunches together, we go for dinner together. So it's just not like, okay, we're done at 4 and it's like, okay, come back at 9 and everyone just goes off and
Yeah.
does their own lunch thing. It's because a lot of the learning happens in those breaks, a lot of the key things. So I think, yeah, I'd love to help doctors grow in their journey in the US, in Canada, even overseas, we're doing stuff. Yeah, I appreciate you letting them know or sharing that message with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you hopping on, and this has been really fun to just share your story and let people know, like, it is a journey, right? It is
Yeah.
not a destination. You're continuing to get better and improve, and investing in yourself, your team, ultimately to help transform the lives of the patients. So, Dr. Bowler, I appreciate you
Thank
jumping
you.
on, and I look forward to having you on again. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Thanks, Ed. Nice to be with you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
we'll see you.
Thank you.